Good morning. This is Raymond Neutra, the president of the Neutra Institute for Survival Through Design. And we're happy this morning to have Dr. Barbara Lamprecht reprise the presentation that she gave to the Cultural Heritage Commission of Los Angeles, which voted the other day to designate the Richard and Dion Neutra Reunion House and Apartment as a historic cultural monument in the city of Los Angeles. The explanation of this justification was interesting enough that we thought we should post it on our website. Barbara, please reprise your presentation.
Hello, everyone. My name is Barbara Lamprecht, and I'm here to present, as we did on January 21st, 2021, the Dion Neutra Reunion House on behalf of the Neutra Institute for Survival Through Design and the Neutra Trust. The property comprises a 1.5-story combination of a main house, which you see here, completed in 1951, and an attached apartment added in 1968. The complex is set atop a hill rising from the Silver Lake Reservoir on a narrow, now heavily wooded lot at the corner of Earl Street and Neutra Place, which became Neutra Place in 1992. The property, circled, is the heart and center of the famous Silver Lake colony of 10 homes and apartments designed by Richard Neutra between 1939 and 1968. You can see that's the reunion house there. The design exemplifies the breaking of the box into an asymmetric composition of line and plane, with white painted panels of stucco, copious walls and banks of glass fronting a reflecting pool, sections of redwood board and batten, and characteristic Neutra spider legs, beams that extend beyond the building footprint and terminate in a post. The west-facing 2,000 square foot house occupies the northern end of the lot, and on the south, a small 500 square foot apartment surmounts the garage that is dug into the hillside. And you can just see the outline of the original garage there in 1951. To review the main points of why the property received designation for its architecture are: first, the house and apartment embodies Neutra's goal to design flexible settings for multi-generation households, a way of living with ever more relevance today. Second, the house is an excellent example of Neutra's mastery in expanding space through a generous use of trademark spider legs that also anchor the house to the little house to the hilly, tight site. The design includes all the typical character-defining features associated with the Neutra practice. Third, independently of one another, both Richard and his architect son, Dion, made minor alterations to the house throughout decades, a unique circumstance in the Neutra canon. The Richard Neutras lived there for 2 years after the famous 1963 fire that destroyed VDL Research House 1, and Neutra often worked on drawings there in the reunion house. Here you see the floor plan in 1951. The layout isn't changed today. The house basically faces Argent Place, and beyond that, about 600 feet west of that, is the Silver Lake Reservoir. I've altered the drawing a little bit to make a couple of points here. Why does a reunion between or among grandparents, children, and grandparents, children, and grandchildren work in a relatively modest-sized house? Well, you can see, for one thing, the parents' bedroom is separated from the children and guest wing. It's spatially and acoustically separated. And number two, an interesting design strategy is to create kind of a public-private integration of the bathroom, circled in red. And here it accommodates at least 4 people at one time. There's a separate place for toilet, bathtub, and shower, and then 2 sinks. And the bathroom also has 2 entrances. So there's different ways to manipulate space, close off space, to make it more flexible to accommodate all these various individuals. This is Arthur Johnson with Richard Neutra in the freshly completed Neutra, the reunion house. There you can see the beautiful Roman brick fireplace beyond in the top left image, the beautiful board and batten ceiling, the entrance off to the left. On the top right, you see that Richard and Arthur are looking at plans, and you can see the board and batten more clearly, how it extends to become the exterior overhang and the exterior illumination. And then the center lower picture shows the 2 men right in front of the kitchen. In fact, you can see the new kitchen shelves that are still there right between Richard and Arthur, right between their heads there. So I'd like to show you some images of the original condition in 1951, and importantly, per preservation standards, spatial relationships and all major character-defining features, interior and exterior, are unchanged. And this is important when we come to evaluate the integrity of a project, especially a property evaluated under criterion 3, which is architecture. Here's the living room. The camera is looking northeast. And then this is taken about 1964. So you can see this wonderful indoor-outdoor quality and the clear stories in the back. The front entrance is kind of beyond that bushy hedge on the left. And here's the opposite direction, also taken from the living room. The camera's looking southwest, also in 1964. And you can see the original curtain that separated the kitchen and breakfast area from the living room. But you can also see the garage well beyond the house in the background. Here's a kind of a straight-on view. The camera's facing north of the living room, and here now the reflecting pool is on the left. And of course, you can't have a Neutra interior, especially one done by Richard and Dion, without a camel table and what's called the Tremaine chair on the right. Here's a wonderful image of Richard Neutra working in the master bedroom, and that the camera is again facing north. This is an unusual photograph. This is taken by someone unknown to us, Donald J. Higgins, and this shows the original layout. You can see that there's a breakfast nook that separates the kitchen from the living area, and the very fine rotary cut plywood, which is very difficult to get to today, even though a very humble material. The Formica tops and the classic Neutra brown color of the breakfast nook. And there are those same breakfast shelves that you saw between Arthur and Richard in that earlier photograph. So let's move on to contemporary photos. And here we have the living room. The camera again is facing north, and you can see that the fireplace has had some life over the last 70 years, but everything else is unchanged. Now here on the right is that photograph that I showed you before of the kitchen area taken by Don Higgins. And on the left, a photo by Michael Locke showing that basically the layout is unchanged. Dion added a Formica countertop so that he could be drawing while he was expecting dinner, but essentially nothing has, no spatial relationships have been altered. Here we see the entrance to the Dion Neutra Reunion House from the corner of Earl Street and Neutra Place. And as you can see, it's a zigzag path of travel up to the front door. And this is a very typical Neutra strategy. It slows the body down in space and offers a kind of physical transition area between your public persona and your domestic persona. This is two different photographs of the reflecting pool, and now you might notice on the left the garage appears to be much taller, and that is because the apartment was built there, constructed in 1968. On the right, the camera facing north again, and you can see another characteristic Neutra feature, which is the angled 2x6s that provide some privacy between someone on the other side accessing the front door and the reflecting pool and the private area for the family beyond. I'd like to discuss now some alterations of the house, who was responsible for what and when. Richard Neutra did the reflecting pool that we saw and the shelves and the mirror in the living room for books. Dion Neutra is responsible for the removal of that European-style curtain that was used by Richard and Mrs. Neutra Dioni that separated the breakfast area from the living area. Dion added two cantilevered countertops, which we just saw. One's for Dion's drafting to the breakfast nook. And then he added a couple of mirrors to the breakfast nook to elongate space in good Neutra fashion. And then to upgrade other parts of the house for new children were a built-in bed, closet, and storage in the child's bedroom, built-in storage and desk unit added to the guest bedroom, built-in cabinetry desk unit added in the northwest corner of the master bedroom, and a lightweight corrugated plastic and wood frame closet in the rear of the building to accommodate Mrs. Lynn Smart Neutra's formidable array of fabulous clothing. Here is the reflecting pool that was added by Richard in 1964. And here is the apartment as Neutra designed it, and Richard Neutra designed it in 1951. You'll notice several things. I've included where the staircase on the top left. The staircase would be in front of the garage. In fact, I've got a 1951 sight line to the unexecuted location of the staircase. And that staircase went up to, if you look at the drawing on the right, you see that there's the staircase facing the living room and the hall and a bath and two bedrooms. You don't see what you might find in a typical apartment, a kitchen. You find just two bedrooms and a bath and hall. So this is clearly intended to be overflow. There was many different ways that Neutra was creating opportunities, or what we call affordances, for overflow guests and overflow family. And so they wouldn't mind, the family wouldn't mind if people saw each other running up and down that staircase. In fact, it might be good to have a few eyes on that. But as executed, things are changed. You can see now I've put in an arrow where the new location of the staircase is, because the new use and function of this little addition is to be an apartment for rent. And so you didn't necessarily want that same kind of visual interaction between family and the apartment dwellers. So the staircase is now in the back, and you, in fact, do have a small kitchen, a bedroom, and now we have what was labeled back in the day a playroom, but is now a living room with a beautiful deck looking west. In historic preservation, we also like to talk about additions which, in a perfect world, are built in such a way that they are what we call compatible but differentiated in terms of detailing. So everyone knows it's not a direct copy of an original. And here you see probably a wonderful example of that Secretary of the Interior Standard Number 9, compatible but differentiated. The railings and detailing are a little bit, they're from the Neutra practice, obviously, but Dion is doing things a little bit differently, but it's still compatible with the overall resource. On the left is the deck that I just discussed, and on the right, that is the south elevation of the apartment. And you'll notice that there's fractal, what we call fractal, a type of industrial glass that Neutra often used in many, many buildings, on the lower part of the window on that top right photograph. That prevented people from seeing inside, passersby on the street looking up. Their vision, their line of sight was obscured, occluded. This is the interior of the apartment. Here is that fractal glass, horizontally oriented, again, on behalf of the privacy of the apartment inhabitants, and this beautiful deck and the board and batten wood that's also used in a slightly different manner. It's a very small but very expansive feeling space. Well, that concludes my presentation. Here, of course, are the duo, Dion and Richard, and thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, Barbara. I made an additional comment to the commission, pointing out that not only was this multi-generational, but also accommodated aging, so that my brother Dion was in a hospital bed in that living room towards the end of his life. And the layout made it possible for children to come and stay and visit and at the end of his life. And this again is something that with the aging population, we're paying a lot of attention to. So thank you so much. And
You're welcome.
I will end this recording here.